Hey, little princess, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm fine. I just got back from Atlanta. So, and my lighting is crazy because I'm in front of this window. Trying to figure out what to do about being in front of this window. I guess that's better. Hey, love yourself. How are you? Oh, and Ashley. It was fine. Atlanta is wide open. And that was very strange. When we first hit town Friday night, all the restaurants were lit up and there was tons of cars in the parking lots, and Atlanta is off the chain. They're off the chain. COVID does not mean a thing to those people down there, at least not from what I saw. Yeah, they're back to business. Like I said, all the restaurants, well, I won't say every single one of them, but most of the restaurants are open and people are flocking to the restaurants. When we saw people coming out of the restaurants, they weren't wearing masks. I guess not. And when we went to the stores, like we went to Walmart and some places like that, they were wearing masks in the Walmart, I think because they made them wear them. And I went to the Hobby Lobby and they were wearing masks in there. But some of the restaurants, like some of the fast food places, they're not wearing masks. They're wearing gloves, but they're not wearing masks. Like we went through a drive-through today and they had on gloves, but they didn't have on masks. And I was like, and then we went into this convenience store and nobody had a mask on at all. Yeah, they're not wearing them. They're wearing the gloves, but they're not wearing the masks. So, you know, I was trying to make sure I didn't get close to any of those people because I was like, and I had my mask on in every store that I went to, because every store that I went to, like I said, I only went to Walmart and Hobby Lobby. But yeah, excuse my lighting. I think it's I may have to turn around some because I'm using natural light. Yeah, exactly. I believe that's true. I think that's why the numbers are rising, because of the fact that people aren't wearing the masks. Yeah. I don't know. I think they just kind of went crazy when they said, go ahead and go for it. So everybody just kind of did, I guess. I guess everybody just kind of did. I don't know what's going on with my lighting. I want you guys to see my shirt. See my t-shirt I got from Walmart. Can you read my t-shirt I got from Walmart? In my t-shirt. It says, everything I know I learned from the street. Sesame Street. That's my t-shirt. Uniquely Vicky, the employees here in restaurants are wearing masks even for curbside pickup here in Dallas. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, Dallas, Fort Worth, I could see. Yeah, is it hot there? Is it really hot in Dallas right now, Vicky? Because I know I lived in Austin for about 2 years and it got hugely hot there, like 109 degrees sometimes. Thanks. I like this shirt too. I thought this is so cute. I love Sesame Street. Yeah. Everything I learned on Sesame Street. Yeah, it was hot in Austin. When we lived there, it was really hot. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I got a couple updates for you guys. If you were watching my channel, 93, I think it's 80 something here in Charlotte. I think it's in the 80s here in Charlotte. Yeah. Yeah, if you guys have been watching my Instagram, and if you're not following my Instagram, I do stuff on Instagram too. So if you're on my Instagram, yeah, they had them. They had them in a small, but they were adult small. They weren't children small, but I'm sure they have stuff like that there. But if you've been watching my Instagram, I decided to start planning because I'm starting to get a lot of interest in my channel. And so I'm going to show you what I got. And if you probably already saw it, but I got myself a planner book, a little planner. And I like this one because these discs the holes are shaped like hearts. Can you see that? They're shaped like hearts. I like that in my planner. So this is my new planner that I got. And I'm going to be trying to schedule my life with my planner because I'm getting a lot of attention to my channel and I need to start tracking what people are asking me for and meetings that I'm having with people and phone calls and when I'm going to put what video up and all that stuff. So I got this planner. I was watching Hearts in a Plan and she does planning. So I got this planner for that. And just a bunch of stickers. I went to Paris in 2012. And so I decided I was going to do a Paris theme in one of my months. And so I got these Paris stickers. I thought these were really cute. So I'm going to put these Paris stickers in my planner. And I got some other stickers too, but I'm not going to get into all that. But anyway, I just need to get organized with the stuff that I'm getting requests for. So I was going to tell you guys some of the stuff that's coming up. I got a... remember when I told you guys about that eyeliner, that iconic eyeliner from Wig Types? And I told you how much I like that eyeliner, and then I came back and told you that it wasn't working. Well, they sent me instructions. They sent me instructions on how to use that iconic eyeliner. So I'm not going to read these to you guys today because I'm going to do a video. Thank you. I put Cantu curl activator on my hair just to get the curls to be more curly. And I'm just wearing it natural. When we went to Atlanta, I just put a headband on and put the curl activator in it, and that was it. So I think I have 3B hair. That's what somebody told me anyway. I think it's 3B. So anyway, yeah, that's why it's all curly. But it's much easier to deal with just putting a headband on and going. But anyway, after I got that iconic, after I told you guys about my update on that iconic liner, I went to Wig Types and I complained to them about it. And I told them that after like 2 or 3 uses, it wasn't working for me. And that some of you guys said it wasn't working for you. And so I went back to them and I told them that. And they said, oh, we're really sorry, you know, whatever. We'll get back in touch with the people that make it or whatever. So they did that. And they sent me some new ones. Now, let me just tell you, you may recall, if you got one of those, that it was just a plain black felt pen. Well, since then, they have put their logo on the pen. So now it says Iconic and a whole bunch of other junk. And I don't know whether this white paper comes off or not because I didn't take it off. But now they've got all kinds of things written on the pen. It says 2-in-1 liquid eyeliner, and it tells you the color. And so now, besides black, they have brown. They sent me all these colors. They have brown, purple. This one is clear. This one is black, and this one is blue. So they've got all these colors now, and they're claiming that they work because they gave me instructions. So I'm going to do another video, update video, and I'm going to show you guys these again, but I'm going to test them out on my hand. I'm going to get some lashes and I'm going to test them out on my hand. Yeah. I'm going to test them out on my hand and put the lash on my hand with the stuff. And then I'm going to read you guys the instructions. No, it's probably the liner, because they said that there's specific things that you have to do when you're using this liner. So when I do my video, I'll tell you guys all about it. Yeah, I'll give you an update and show you whether it actually works on my hand with the colors that they sent. But yeah, so now they've got 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got 5 colors. And yeah, so we're going to test them out. And then I'll just tell you guys what they're saying, because they're very specific about how you handle the pen, the felt pen, which I was like, well, I close it, so shouldn't that be enough, closing it? But evidently that's, you know, they got some other things to say about it. So we will find out about that. But yeah, I'll do a video to show you guys that. But I did want to give you guys an update on what I'm going to be bringing you. Excuse me. If you guys have been to my channel lately, you'll see that I have a premiere up that's going to air on Tuesday. And that premiere is for Janet Collection Kimmy. It's a new bob that Janet Collection has out. I think it's still a right side part. Yeah, I think it's still a right side part. And it's in the color Mocha Bronze. And it's a pretty nice bob. It's a synthetic bob, and it's still, you know, it's still got lace in the front and the lace part and all that stuff. But I'm going to share that. That'll air on Tuesday morning. I've been trying to get some of these done in advance. I used to do that. I used to do them in advance, like a week in advance, but I haven't really had time. So that one's gonna air on Tuesday, but I've got, I know what I was gonna tell you. I'm gonna be doing some human hair wigs, and I'm getting some human hair wigs in from some different companies, and I'm gonna show you guys how I install those. I'm gonna try to make it really, really simple so that they're not really difficult for you guys. But yeah, so I've got some of those coming that I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to do a collab in a couple of weeks with some people. I'm not going to tell you who until the time comes, but I'm getting ready to do a collab with a couple people. I think it's not next week. I think it's the week after that. So look out for that. I'm doing a collab on. I think we're all going to have different wigs on, but yeah, we're going to do a collab on a wig style, a certain style of wig. So that's coming up week after next. And like I said, I got the human hair wigs that I'm going to be doing. And Bobby Boss is sending me a wig. So I'm going to be doing that. I don't remember which one they're sending, but that's coming. And I got with the company that's sending me eyeglasses. I don't know if you guys are interested in eyeglasses, but I told them, I said, look, I'm an old person and I wear glasses, and I don't, necessarily want to see the crazy style glasses, but I do want to see something that's fairly fashionable. I may be old, but I'm not dead, right? So I want something that looks fairly decent. So I'm going to be working with an eyeglasses company, and I'm going to be bringing you guys some styles of some eyeglasses for this company that I'm working with. Let's see, what else? Let's see. Are you guys still hearing me? Are you guys still there? I mean, is it, are you guys there? Is everybody still good? Can everybody still hear me? Just put a thumbs up or say yes or whatever. Okay. I just want to make sure that you guys are still out there. I mean, that you can hear me. Yeah, so the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was you might have noticed that amid all of this George Floyd stuff, there's also a movement going on Instagram where women are starting to talk about supporting each other. And so I wanted to talk about sisterhood just a little bit, because that's something that in the blogging community, especially, we have not always been that great at. Because, I mean, I guess early on, it might have seemed like a competition. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, the sponsorships and the collabs, they're coming, and I'm real happy about that because I told them, I said, we want certain things as older women, and I want to be able to bring those to you guys. So that's kind of what I've been working on. But when I first started this channel, hey, Miss Chrissy, when I first started this channel, I was kind of on my own, and Miss Chrissy will attest to that. I was kind of on my own, not really knowing who to turn to or talk to about the wig blogging business, I guess, the business part of it. I mean, in the beginning, of course, I'm just having a good time and everything. But now if people are starting to take an interest, then it's going to have to start making a little bit of a shift in terms of, you know, my being able to do other things to give to you guys. So anyway, I didn't feel like I had a whole lot of support because I was new and my channel was small. And sometimes when you're small, the bigger people don't really talk to you a whole lot. I mean, the bigger channels don't necessarily consider you like worthy. And I'm not saying everybody's like that, but some of the bigger channels, they just don't have time, I guess, because they're so big and they don't really have time to mentor people or to help them through stuff. But I was really starting to feel on my own. And yeah, right. You're the new kid at the lunch table. That's true. And they just looking at you like, who are you, right? Or who do you think you are? I kind of got that from some people too. You know, who do you think you are, kind of coming into our domain and doing what you're doing? But the difference with me is that I thought, okay, I'm going to have a niche right off the bat. And that niche was older women, because not everybody was doing that, like I told you guys before. So that was kind of my area. So I was a little bit immune to some of the stuff because I was not like stepping on their territory, you know what I mean, so to speak. But I didn't really feel like I was supported or that I could actually approach anybody or talk to anybody. And as I mentioned to you before, I started watching Hearts and Cake 90 a long time ago. I never really approached her or talked to her about anything. You know, I'd make comments on her page like everybody else was doing. But when I decided to start my channel, I felt reluctant to talk to her or anybody else because of their, I guess, size. So just this year, I think it was this year, no, last year, at the very end of 2019, yeah, I got Who Do You Think You Are Too. I didn't care. I talked and commented on people's stuff like I knew them. Yeah, I talked on people's channels too. But I didn't like impose, I guess you could say, you know, I mean, I just was, you know, I wasn't really sure what I was doing anyway. So, but last year, yeah, she is humble. Last year, Brittany, Hearts and Cake 90 did a collab with a bunch of women. She did a collab with a bunch of women. Hey, Russell's daughter. She did a collab with a bunch of vloggers. And she asked me to be part of it. It was like a lookbook kind of thing she was doing. And I was like, oh my goodness, she asked me to be a part of it. She said, yeah, tell me what your favorite wig is. And I'm just going to go through and let all these women say what their favorite wig is. And that's the first time that she actually even, you know, really talked to me. I mean, I think I may have asked her one or two questions before that and was kind of hoping to get an answer. But then she asked me to be a part of that. And after that, I felt a little bit better because I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's okay for me to talk to some of these other bloggers. So I started reaching out to people like Oh So Fashionable. Yeah, her end of year favorites, right. I started reaching out to Oh So Fashionable and Natural Joy and Trendy K and Wigs to Waist Length and people like that, and just kind of started talking. Oh, yeah, you found me through her? Yeah. I just started talking to them. And after that, it was like, oh, well, they're kind of cool. They're not like, I mean, I'm not going to like start asking them a ton of questions, but every now and then I would say, you know, well, why did you do this? Or why did you do that kind of thing so that I could kind of learn. But this year was the year that it kind of opened up. And Miss Chrissy will tell you that there was a collab that was being done by Jess the Dragoness. She decided that she was going to do that what was that thing, that challenge called? What was that challenge called? I forgot that challenge. Anyway, oh, Don't Rush. That's what it was. Does anyone happen to know? Oh, Trendy K, and we'll talk about that. Trendy K got her channel hacked, but she's back now. She's back now. She got a couple of the human hair wig companies who worked with her to put some pressure on, and now she's back. So yeah, Trendy K is back now. Yeah, it was a don't rush challenge. That's what it was. Don't rush. Oh yeah, you won 3 weeks. Yeah, she's back. Yeah. So yeah, it was the don't rush challenge. And so Jess the Dragoness had asked a bunch of people to be in this don't rush. And so she didn't ask me personally, Jess didn't, but Brittany asked me, Hearts and Cake 90 asked me if I would be interested in joining the group and being in that as well. So then once I got in that group, it was like this many people, was in that group. And it was people from like really little me with no, hardly any subscribers to people who had like 400,000 subscribers. And all of a sudden we're all in a room together. And it was like, oh my goodness, this is weird. But the cool thing is I was like a fly on the wall. You know what I mean? I was like a fly on the wall because I could like sit back and just listen to the conversations that were going on. Oh, she added you too? Yeah. You could just kind of start to listen to the conversations that are going on and who they're working with and how they feel about this company or that company and the different tricks that they use to do their wigs and create their videos and stuff. And I'm like taking notes. I'm like taking notes. And I'm like, slow down. I'm taking notes. Because it was an opportunity for us to really see as smaller channels, what's this thing really all about? And what's the real deal behind the curtain? It's like, it was like pulling the curtain back from the Wizard of Oz and find out what the real truth was. So it was really cool. And I got a chance to meet a lot of people and forge some friendships with people like Miss Chrissy and Weezy's Wig Reviews and some more TV and just people that I hadn't really gotten to know. Now, Miss Chrissy, you know why I can't come back to that group. I am already a social media junkie. And my husband saw me spending so much time in that group that he was looking at me sideways. I was a part of, you did 2 Don't Rush challenges too, Miss Vic? Uniquely Vicky. Yeah. Yeah, everybody was doing those Don't Rush challenges. Everybody was. But yeah, I had to get out. I love that group and I love those women, but oh my goodness gracious, I couldn't stay in there and be sane because they were always doing something and they were always talking about something. And then when the new wigs would drop, everybody's talking about what they're doing. And they find out stuff ahead of everybody else, of course. And so there you go. Everybody's rushing to do this, rushing to do that. And I was like, oh my goodness, I can't keep up. I just can't. So I said, I'm going to get out. And then as soon as I got out, I got in Queendom Mindset's group. And Queendom Mindset had a whole nother group to do that collaboration where we gave those wigs away on Instagram. And so that was a whole nother group of women that were doing that I got pulled into, so to speak. But yeah, that has been wonderful. And so since, I guess the point that I'm making, yeah, the Russian made me stressed too, Miss Chrissy. All that Russian, yeah. And I know I was pressuring you too. I was pressuring you because they was pressuring me. But anyway, aside from all of that, I have learned a lot from just having heard those conversations. And now I kind of know where I want to go with my channel. And I kind of know I guess I was kind of validated in what I realized I wanted to do with my channel and how I wanted to go in terms of my channel. So just listening to them gave me the confidence to continue to do what I want to do with my channel. So I've got a lot of stuff coming down the pike that I want to do. Yeah. And so that's kind of why I wanted to talk about sisterhood, because ever since I was in those 2 groups, we have all been talking to each other and supporting each other and collaborating with each other and doing like sisterhood challenge tags with each other and stuff. It's just been really good. It's been really sweet because I just feel like the whole thing has opened up. And now I feel supported and I feel like there's people there that can relate to me and I can relate to them. And again, we all have what Kyra Sean says is our own lanes. We have our own lanes. And yeah, you're probably familiar with Kyra Sean, Pepper Potts. She has a channel on YT as well. And Kyra Sean, she crazy, but she's very, very smart and very, very knowledgeable about things. And she was the one that was saying, everybody's got their own lane. So there's room for all of us. And so that's kind of why we kind of collectively, without even saying so, decided that we were going to support each other. And we weren't going to like be competitors. We were going to be supporting each other. And that's kind of the way it's been. And I like that because like for me and people like Wheezy, we're catering to an older group of people. And so what we're doing is not always going to be what everybody else is doing. But then again, there are some times when we're doing the same wigs that the younger women are doing. And that's okay, because we put our own spin on what we do. Yes, Vicky, it is. It's good to have support and to be able to ask questions of people. It is. And now I feel much more comfortable about it than I did before. And we are each other's moderators. I mean, Miss Chrissy's moderating my chat now, and sometimes I'll jump in and moderate Wheezy's chats or other people. So we're just doing things together to help each other. And I love it. I just think it's great. So in terms of sisterhood in general, I think it's just a really good challenge. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have a YouTube channel, but if you're on Instagram and you have women that you spend time with and that you support, you guys should start a little challenge. You know, tell each other, you know, I'm challenging you to support, you know, 2 or 3 sisters, you know, do a hashtag them, and, you know, and say that you care about them, say that you appreciate them, you know, say that you do things together, you know. Yeah, whoever and wherever, right. And Vicky, yeah, Vicky says I cater to the older woman too because I didn't see anyone my age. Right. And so, I mean, and you and I and Wheezy, actually, I would like to find more of the older women on YouTube. I have found a few people through Wheezy, and I got picked for this top 20 women over 40 on YouTube thing. And when I got on that list of that top, I think it was top 30 women over 40 on YouTube or whatever, when I got picked for that thing, I found some other women who are also on YouTube that I've reached out to and I'm trying to spend some time with. So yeah, it's been cool. I really enjoyed that. It's been cool. So the last thing that I said I was going to talk to you guys about, and then, you know, and you can ask, hey, Russell's daughter, hey, 47 is good. I had a good time in my 40s. Miss Chrissy, you have a world awaiting you. Most of the things that I did in my life that were the most exciting was when I was in my 40s. By the time I hit 40, I was rolling. I had a good time in my 40s. Oh, you're 57? Okay. But yeah, the 40s, I think, were because I had come into my own. My kid was gone. I was still young enough and looked good enough to get out there and have a good time. And that's what I did. In my 40s, I had a great time. I started working for MSNBC when I think I was 40. I think I was still in my 30s when I started working for them. But when I got to Discovery Channel, I think I was in my 40s when I got to Discovery Channel. And I was having a good time. I was really enjoying myself in my 40s. So don't think, you know, if you're in your 20s, you got plenty of time, ladies. See, I didn't have fun in my 20s because I was married and had just gotten divorced in my 20s. So I had a little kid and I had to start over. I had to start working at the factory so I could make some money and take care of my child. My 20s were not fun. I didn't have fun until my son was grown. When my son left the house, that's when girlfriends started to have a good time. 25 was your best, Miss Chrissy? Really? No, you're yet to see your best, Miss Chrissy. You're going to see more of your best. You're going to see more of your best as time goes by. Like I said, I would say looking back, being 62, looking back, my 40s was probably my best time. And I had a great time then. But, I also told you guys that I was going to talk to you. I'm free and single, right? Yeah, because I didn't get married again until I was 46. So yeah, I was having a good time in my, I guess you could say 30s and 40s. But not my 20s. There was too much work going on in my 20s. Raising my kid, trying to take care of us, going through college. All of that was my 20s. So it was just too much. There was just too much going on in my 20s for me to even enjoy them. And even part of my 30s. I was rich with less bills. Oh, okay. Rich with less bills. Sabrina, you said you struggled in your 20s financially. I think we all did. I mean, because you're just getting away from your parents. I mean, if you were living with your parents, you're just getting away from your parents. You're either going to college or you're trying to get a job and keep a job and trying to figure out who you are and what you want to do with your life and all that junk. I don't want to ever go through that again, trying to figure out who I am or what I'm going to do in my life. I don't want to do that again. Like I said, I had it all figured out by the time I reached my 40s. And then I just was rolling. I was having a good time. So, and another thing, I said, you're going in the bushes for a bit. Okay. Okay. All right. Another thing I was going to talk to you guys about was how I got into television. I know that a lot of you guys, a lot of you know that I used to be a TV reporter. And I wanted to tell you how I got into that business. And I also want to talk about the business now. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the business now because news is nothing like it used to be back in the day when I first started in the business. It's just not the same. But to tell you how I got started, when I was working in, I think I told you guys I was a sandblaster back in the day. When I was putting myself through college, I was a sandblaster. You know, I told you guys that I had to do that kind of work at a factory. And this woman that I used to work with at the factory, she went to DC for the weekend. And when she came back, all she talked about was the doctors and lawyers and people that she met up in DC and how everybody was doing so well. And she was hanging out this club called Hogates and all this kind of stuff. She just made it seem so glamorous, right? And we're sitting on the park bench, right, at the factory, eating our peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with our eyes this big. And she's telling us all these stories about how wonderful things were with people who actually went to college. And none of us had gone to college at that time. And so the more she talked about it, the more I said, look, I have a child, like a little kid, 3 years old, I think he was maybe at the time. And I was like, you know, I need to go to college. I need to do something with my life. And so after she came back with that story, she started college. And so I started college too. So she went to Central State. We were in Ohio at the time. So she went to Central State and I went to Wright State. And so we kind of went different paths, but we both decided to go to school and try to do something with our lives because we wanted to have that good life that we thought everybody had in DC. So when she started college, she went at Central State, she studied marketing, I think, and she ended up becoming a buyer for Victoria's Secret. And she traveled all over the world getting fabric and material to choose for those bras and panties that you women love so much. That was my girlfriend, Kelly. That was my girlfriend, Kelly. Kelly went all over the world and she was able to pick out the fabrics and colors and styles for the Victoria's Secret line of underwear and stuff. So you can credit my girlfriend for part of that. So she was the one, like I said, that influenced me to go to school. So while she was off doing her thing and eventually getting to Victoria's Secret, I decided that I wanted to be a journalist because I had always liked writing in school. And so through my factory job, I started going to the school part-time because I couldn't quit my job. I had a kid. So I would go to school. I would go to work during the day. I was on 3 to 11. So I would go to school in the morning until like 12 o'clock. Then I'd go home and go to bed. Then I'd go to work, come home and go to bed, get up in the morning, go to school. And I did that, that was my schedule for a long time throughout my college years. And my grandmother helped take care of my son while I was doing that. And then towards the end of my time, you wanted to be a buyer, but you ended up at AT&T? Wow, yeah. Yeah, that's what she did. She loved it. She loved it. She just retired not long ago from Victoria's Secret. Yeah, she was there for all of her career. Yeah. So I ended up getting some internships while I was in college because I was afraid that if I waited until I graduated, that I wouldn't be able to get any experience as a reporter. So I started working for this Black newspaper in Dayton, Ohio. Mr. Bickerstaff, I'll never forget him. He paid me $25 a story. And I was busting my behind running around covering stories for him for the Black paper. It was called the Dayton Black Press. And I wrote stories for him. But you know, the cool thing about Mr. Bickerstaff is he would send me on interviews of people that were like entertainers who came to town. So I had like carte blanche to go into these hotels and stuff and say, and flip my little card and say, hi, I'm Faith so-and-so, and I can, I work for the Black Press. And they said, oh, okay, well, if you work for the Black Press, then we'll let you in. So I was able to use that to interview people. I interviewed Peebo Bryson. I don't know if you guys remember him, when he was a big singer. I interviewed him. I interviewed an actor called Greg Morris. He used to play on this show called Mission Impossible. I interviewed him. I interviewed another actor named Dorian Harewood. I interviewed Jane Kennedy's husband. I just interviewed a lot of people. And then I ended up interviewing a bunch of singers in town in the Dayton area. They had a lot of singers came out of Dayton, like the Ohio Players and who else? The Ohio Players and Heatwave and Lakeside and Slave and all those groups came out of Dayton. And so, yeah, you remember those people? So, yeah, so those are my interviews for my newspaper job while I was in college so that I could get some experience. They called them clips. Like clips were like the articles that you wrote and you cut them out of the paper, so they called them clips. And you save them in your book so that when you wanted to get a job, you'd have that book of, you know, I wrote this story and it got printed in the paper kind of stuff. You know, that's what they did. But one day I got a job, another job, aside from my regular job and my writing for the Black Press. I took a part-time job on the weekend working at the big white newspaper. So I've got a full-time job. I got a part-time job. I got a side job. Try to kick it with you. Anyone try to kick it with you? No. Oh, no. You mean in terms of like getting with me? No. I tell you what, though, Peebo Bryson made a pass at me when I was in the hotel room with him and his doctor. He come talking about, no, we were sitting there talking. Because, see, I have a friend who knows him. Dorian Harewood. Yeah, he was. Oh, he's short. Oh, let me tell you. Let me tell you, when Dorian Harewood came to the door, when I interviewed him, I had to go to the hotel. When he came to the door, I was doing like this. I'm looking for somebody. I had to look down, and there he was. He was really short, and I'm only 5'8". I'm only 5'8", so you know he had to be short. Yeah, he was really good looking, but he was very short. That it like burst my bubble to see how short he was. But anyway. Yeah, that was that. But yeah, yeah, he's real short. He's real short. So Peebo Bryson, he had a doctor traveling with him for some reason. And I had a friend who was a concert promoter. And so the concert promoter had gotten me in to talk to Peebo. So I'm sitting there, you know, we're on the couch and he's sitting on one end of the couch. I'm sitting on the other end of the couch. And I'm interviewing him about his musical career. And I kept doing like this, you know, because I crick my neck sometimes. Sometimes I crack my neck. And he says, what's wrong? I said, it's nothing. I'm just cracking my neck. So he says, come on over here to the table. So he had one of those suites that had a dining room in it. And so I go into the dining room. Hey, Lottie Dottie. I go into the dining room and I sit down in the chair. And he goes behind me and he starts rubbing on my neck and my shoulders. You know, he's like, calling himself getting the crick out of my neck. And I'm thinking, okay, what is this dude doing? And so I said, you know what, you know, let me just get up because I'm here in a professional capacity and I do not want him to think that I'm like some floozy, right? I'm a reporter, you know, I'm serious, you know, in my mind anyway. So then while I was up there with him, I don't know what happened, but when I got downstairs, when I was about to leave, I lost my earring. I had this big gold leaf earring back in the day that wore these big earrings in the 80s. I had this big gold earring. And when I went downstairs, I realized I didn't have my earring. And I thought, oh my goodness, did I leave my earring up there in that hotel room, Peebo Bryson? And it's funny because I said, well, I'm not going back up there. I called up there and asked him if it was there. And he said, yeah. He said, you want to come back up and get it? I said, no, I'm not coming back up to get it. I said, just give it to Jerry. I told him to give it to my friend, who's his friend. So I go to the concert to cover the concert. And my friend Jerry comes over to me and he gives me the earring and he just looks at me like, what happened upstairs with you and Peebo Bryson? I said, nothing. I lost my earring and that was it. I snatched my earring away from him and kept it moving. So yeah, that's my Peebo Bryson experience. But yeah, I used to interview, I used to get a chance to interview all those people because of my, because of the fact that I was working for the Black newspaper. But while I was working at the big white paper, when I got to work one morning on the weekend, because I only worked there Saturday and Sunday. When I got there one morning, I opened the elevator door and everybody in the newsroom was standing up. And that never happens. I mean, everybody in the whole newsroom was standing up. And I'm thinking, what is going on? And so somebody was in the middle of the room talking. He was standing on a desk talking. And so I kind of weaved my way through the people and found out that they were laying off a ton of people from that newspaper. And one of the columnists came over to me and he said, Faith, he said, if I were you, I would go to television. He said, because newspapers are dying. And this was like in 83. In 83. Well, of course, now newspapers are pretty much dead. Everything's online. And he was correct about that. But when he said that, he kind of scared me. And so I thought, okay, so how am I going to get into television? I said, I'm a print reporter. I mean, I write for the paper. How can I do that? So I was in my college courses. I had to take a course on politics or something. And in my class, that particular semester was an anchor from the local television station. He was taking the class too. And I thought, oh, wow, well, if he's taking the class, then maybe I'll have an opportunity to talk to him and ask him some questions about television, right? So I asked him for coffee. I said, can we have coffee together? I said, I just kind of want to talk to you about what you do, whatever. So we had coffee and he ended up getting me an internship at their TV station. And let me tell you what an intern normally does at a TV station. You're a gopher. And it's just like the word implies. You are going for this and going for that. So that's what I was. I was a gopher. I had to run and go get coffee, or I had to run and go get this, or I had to open up the mail or whatever it was. And I was like, I'm not a child, because I didn't start college till I think I was 20. I think I didn't start college till I was 24. And everybody else was graduating when I started. So I felt old in college. And I thought, why am I doing this? I'm not a kid. I shouldn't be running around getting your coffee. I'm trying to learn this business. So every weekend when I worked, the guy who was on the assignment desk, he would send reporters out with the photographers to do stories. And at the time they were covering, I'm here listening, I have a lot to do with my stereo. Okay. So at the time they were covering like the fair, stuff that reporters don't like to do. So the county fair was going on and I kept bugging the guy. I'm like, okay, I can do something. Let me do something. Let me go and do a story because I need to get my mug on TV so that I can get a tape together and go to a TV station. So I bugged him and bugged him and bugged him. And finally they let me do a story at the fair. So it had something to do with a blue ribbon something. It was some kind of judging of some pies or something. But I did the story. And they were like, oh, okay, well, she's not bad on television. So let's give her another little story to do. So it turns out in my 3 months at that TV station as an intern, I did 10 stories. I had 10 opportunities to get on camera and be seen and record it so that I could have a tape to send off to some station so that I can get a job in the business. And so that's what I did. I was the first reporter or the first intern that they ever let on television. And then after that, everybody else was able to do it. Because I had a girl who was in one of my classes who went there after me, and she also got a chance to get on the air. So I guess, I was like, I kind of broke the mold, which was nice. But yeah, you need that kind of experience before you get out of school so that when you get out of school, you have something to show. You can say, okay, I not only have a degree, but look, here's my tape. And these are the stories that I did at my station that I interned at over the summer or whatever it is. So that's how I got into the business in terms of actually getting some experience. But my first TV station was in Illinois or Iowa or some little town. And I sent them my tape. I sent that tape. Since I only had one, I was afraid to send it to everybody because I thought if I send it to somebody and they don't send it back, then I'm not going to have, my stories. And so I was very particular about who I sent it to. So I would write letters. I started writing letters to all these TV stations saying, I'm new from school. I just graduated. I want to be a TV reporter. I got 60 rejection letters before I got my first offer. After that 60 rejections, I didn't give up. I was like, I'm not giving up. I got to do this. And so I finally got a yes. And that's how I got started. I went to a television station in Iowa, and their studio was in a barn. And when I would do my stories, I would have to lock the camera down first so that it wouldn't move. Then I would sit behind the desk. I'd do my little story. And then I'd get up and go upstairs and do the radio. And then I'd come back down and do TV. It was really crazy. But they worked you to death back in those days. You had to do everything. Yeah, you had to do everything. But that's how I got started in television. Just like you said, perseverance. I was determined to do it. And I thought, how hard can this be? I mean, then I started going to this journalism convention every year for Black reporters. It was only for Black people. It was called National Association of Black Journalists. And I think it's called NABJ, and it's still going on today. But when I went to that conference, that was the first time I had seen Black people who were on TV and in newspapers all together in one place. So it wasn't just like it was like the big people from NBC and CBS and ABC all the way down to people like me who just started. And when I got there, I thought, oh, wow, this is just so cool. I'm seeing people that I see on CNN every day, and I'm seeing people that I see on CBS every day. And it was mind blowing to be able to go into a conference and see all these people that I admired and wanted to be like right here in front of me. They're standing there having drinks. So, they're over there eating lunch or whatever, or they're in the same, seminar that you're in or whatever. And so you got a chance to ask questions of those people too. So I made friends with several people. You might remember, what was her name? Carol Simpson. Carol Simpson was one of the first Black women on national television. She actually anchored the ABC Weekend News. And I met Carol Simpson at one of those conventions. And I sat with her and we had drinks. And I just pulled her, I just talked her ear off, asking her questions about the business and how did you get to the network and, what do you do to get that far and all that stuff, So I had an opportunity every time I went to that convention to, be about my business, because there were people who would come and just have fun. They'd come and they drink and they go to the parties and all this kind of stuff and hobnob with people, because entertainers would come too. Entertainers would be there as well as reporters. And they would just come and like party. But I was like, I have to make some progress here. So I'm going to try and find people who I know can help me. And so I'm mingling around the room trying to talk to people and get business cards as opposed to just like drinking and partying, because I still had a son to raise. And I felt like, in order for me to get out of this podunk little town in Iowa, I'm going to have to start making some connections so that I can move up and get to a bigger city or to a bigger network or station or something. I didn't think I'd ever go to the network. I just didn't think I'd ever make the network because there were so many people who were so good at it. I just didn't think I was ever going to even cut that mustard. But I was happy because I was making some kind of progress. I met a producer from CBS News, and he liked me. He liked my tape. And so he started helping me move from one little station to a bigger station to a bigger station until I got out of the business. But when I got out to be behind the camera as opposed to being in front of the camera. Because for me as a reporter, I didn't really have much control over what I did. But as a producer, I'm the one telling you to go out and cover the story. I'm the one deciding what's going to be in the newscast. I'm the one that's saying, okay, this is the number 1 story, 2, 3, 4. This is how much time sports is going to get. This is how much time weather's going to get. I'm making that decision. And so I felt like being a producer was better for me to be a reporter, because I guess I kind of wanted to be in control. So I started producing, and I got off camera because I felt like, okay, been there, done that. You know, I don't need to be seen. I'm not like, you know, going there. I don't really need that self-gratification. I really want more of the power. And there was power in producing. And so that's why I decided I would do that. But then when the internet came, I made the transition again. I was like, okay, if I can produce TV news, I should be able to produce online news too. And as a writer, that excited me a lot too. And so when I went to NBC, I started out in their local station in Washington, at the NBC local station, and I was writing news for them in the beginning, like for the first few months. And then somebody was, oh, I know what it was. Computers hadn't even come out yet. I mean, there weren't even computers in the newsroom. They had like these little machines, but they weren't like really computers. Yes, mentoring did help me a lot. Yes, yes. Yeah, I depended on the advice of a lot of people who had gone before me. And I was determined not to make the same mistakes they made. So that's kind of how I learned the ropes, from watching what they did and listening to what they told me. But yeah, so when I decided to go into the internet, they MSNBC had not even launched yet. And there was a black guy who was doing the temporary MSNBC, and he was the only one in the newsroom with a computer. And I was interested in computers, and I'm like, what are you doing? I would go over to him at my lunch or my break, and I'd ask him, what are you doing over here? And he says, well, he said, they've got this new project coming out called MSNBC. He said, and I really don't want to do it. He says, because I'm going to go to Atlanta and work for the mayor. I said, okay. I said, well, I'm interested in computers. I said, do you think that maybe I could take your place and do that? And he says, well, do you know anything about software? And I had dabbled in a little software because I had worked for a graphic designer before I went to NBC. And I said, yeah, I know a little bit about it. So he said, well, I recommend you for the job. So he did, and the guy gave me the job. So then I became the first web producer at the NBC station for MSNBC. And then they sent us to Microsoft. They sent us to Seattle, to Microsoft, so that we could learn how to do online news. And there I was again in this really exciting field that was just breaking open. I was so excited about that. It was like, oh my goodness. So they sent us to Microsoft, and they taught us how to stream video. They taught us how to edit video. And this, I'm talking 1996. They taught us how to edit video and how to edit audio and how to put news stories together and how to upload them to the internet. I mean, it was just so exciting because it was all brand new. It was all brand new. And when we got to Microsoft, they had us in this big room, and they have like a campus in Seattle. They had a campus because they owned all this property, right? And so they're training us to do all of this stuff. And it was just really exciting. And then when they sent us all back to our respective TV stations, then they had their Microsoft technology people working with us on the telephone to install all the computers. So I helped my boss, who was a network administrator. We installed all the computers in the newsrooms, and we made sure everybody was set up so that when they did news stories, they could turn stories over to me to put online while they did their stories on the air. So that was real exciting. So I was editing their stories. Plus, I was taking stories that MSNBC was feeding us, because they would feed stories to us, and we would take those stories and we'd repackage them, as it were, and put them up online. AT&T sent us to Microsoft to learn computers. Oh yeah, you did, you really? Yeah, it was really cool going up there. It was cool going up there and learning. Yeah, it was real nice. And we were what they call an owned and operated station. So our local station was owned by the network. So we were upstairs. And if you've ever been to NBC in Washington, the network is downstairs and the local station is upstairs. So like people like Tom Brokaw were in New York, but like Pete Williams was a big reporter in Washington, and Pete Williams was downstairs. The guy who used to do, he died. The guy who used to do the Sunday show, I forgot, was it Meet the Press? It might have been Meet the Press, yeah. But anyway, he passed away and somebody else ended up doing that. But all of those people were all in the same building with me. So when I went downstairs to the lunchroom or whatever, I'm running into all of these people that are on the network because they work in the same building. And it was a very, and that was when I was in my 40s. Like I told you, my late 30s, my early 40s, I started to really have a good time in my life because I was, a new world was kind of opening up for me. And so that's how I kind of went from a news reporter, a print reporter, to a TV reporter, to an online reporter and producer. It was just really fun. And I had a good time and I learned a lot. And it was just great. It really was, because there was a lot of opportunity if you were willing to work hard. If you were willing to work hard and you were willing to learn, then there was no stopping you. Because in our newsroom, we had all types of people. We had an Asian reporter, we had two Hispanic reporters, an Asian reporter, several Black reporters and white reporters, and producers. We had Black producers. Our news director was a Black woman. So we had a lot of opportunity there at that station in Washington. It was great. So we had a good time there. So so that's kind of how I got in the business. But after I left MSNBC, I went to the Discovery Channel because I wanted to learn more about the web. And the people at NBC really didn't know a whole lot about the internet. But I knew that Discovery did, because they had like 6 or 7 different stations, and as well as websites to go with those stations. And I knew they knew a lot about the web. And so I went over there and I finished out my career in television over there at Discovery. And then when I got laid off, I think I became a project manager. Yeah, that's when I got my degree in project management, and decided that I was going to move into that area and just project manage for any company that needed somebody who was a writer, who could manage content as well as, write it. So, so that's what I did. So that's the whole story, guys. But I just wanted to come to you guys and share some news, like I said, about what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing some human hair wigs. If you're late coming in, I'm going to be doing some human hair wigs coming up in the next few months. I'm going to do an update on those iconic eyeliner things I told you guys about. I actually got some new ones from Wig Types. They sent me all the colors that they come in, and they gave me some instructions on how to use these, because evidently I wasn't using them right or something. But she gave me all these instructions and sent me these pins. So I'm going to do a video to show you guys how these work. Yeah, I'm still working. Yeah, I haven't retired. I'm not going to retire until, I think I'm going to retire in about 4 years, maybe 4 or 5 years I'm going to retire. But you know me, I'm not going to be retiring from everything. I'll be doing something. If I'm not working full time, I'm going to be doing something. If it's not videos, then I'm probably going to be writing some more books, or I'll be sewing up something or something. I'm going to be busy doing something, because I just can't sit still. So I think I'm going to retire from the company that I work at right now as a bank. And I'm actually writing processes and procedures for the bank to kind of help them get their act together. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm sort of project managing and writing right now processes for them to kind of manage their business. So that's what I'm doing right now, but I don't intend to do that more than 5 years. Yeah, there is plenty to do in retirement. Like I said, I might be sewing wigs. I might be sewing clothes. I might be writing books. I might start another YouTube channel on a whole nother subject. I mean, who knows? I haven't decided what I'm going to do, but I know that I'm not going to be working full time for anybody in 5 years. If I work, it's probably going to be part-time, where I'm going to freelance or something, because I know I've got to do something. I got to stay busy, but I don't want to work full time, and especially not in corporate America. I'm just getting so tired of the mess. It's like it's the same stuff, different day, if you know what I mean. In corporate America, it's the same stuff, different day. You mean you got your PMP? Yeah, I'm PMP certified. Yeah, But I went to college. I went back to school and got a graduate degree in project management. So I'm what they call MSPMP or something like that. It's a project management. It's a master's degree in project management. Yeah. And I'm PMP certified because after I got my degree in project management, I took the test right away because I knew that if I didn't take the test right away, that I was not going to remember that stuff. And that test was like, what, $600? I think it was $600 to take that PMP certification. And since I had all that stuff in my head from 4 years of school, because my graduate degree took me 4 years because I was doing it part-time while I was working at Discovery Channel. I got my degree at night while I was working at Discovery. I went to George Washington University. So I would leave Discovery and get on the train to George Washington, and I would work on my degree there, and then I'd go home. So yeah, and that was in my 40s, I think. Yeah, I think I just turned 40 when I got that, when I started working on my degree. So yeah, I'm a busy bee. So yeah, I'm still PMP certified because I don't want to have to ever take that test again. And so that's why I get my PDUs in my 3 years like I'm supposed to. I may not do it in my next 3 years because I think my PMP is up. I think it's up next year or the year after. I don't remember, but I don't think I'm going to renew it because I'm planning on retiring, and I just don't think I'm going to use it anymore. I mean, I felt like I was organized before I got the PMP, but I do love processes and I love planning. And I guess that's why I got a planner. I love planning. I love processes, and having that PMP kind of gets you in the door. But I mean, you got to know your stuff. You can't just have that certification. You have to know how to manage a project and how to manage the people on the project, and how to get around all their personal agendas and hidden agendas and all that kind of stuff, to get your stuff done. That's a whole nother conversation. I may have to do a whole nother video just on that. If anybody's interested in managing projects as a PMP, trust me, I done been there, done that. I could definitely talk to you about how to manage people, especially because that's really what projects are about. My goodness. Because you got people who are going to sabotage the project. You got people who ain't going to pull their weight. You got people who said they're going to get something done on time and then they don't get it done. And there are ways to get around that with them, to make sure they get it done. Sometimes they don't want to follow the toll gates, the quality checks. They don't want to do that. Sometimes IT is, project management is stressful, especially if it's IT project management, because IT project management is much more difficult. It depends on whether you're doing waterfall or whether you're doing like Agile or Kanban or something like that. And even that can be stressful because if you're on those really short sprints, there's a lot more to do in a shorter period of time. Waterfall is like, you can start the project here and you can end it way off the page, because you never know when it's going to end. But yeah, that's true. They become your children. But see, if you're like a consultant, then you may have the responsibility, but you don't have the power. So if you want anything done with them children, you have to go to the functional manager. And the functional manager is the person that's going to have to get the kids in line because you don't have the authority to get the kids in line. And that's what I didn't like, because a lot of times I was just consulting. I went to Fannie Mae to be a project manager as a consultant. And because I didn't have the authority to tell people to do certain things, I was always having to work through that functional manager. And sometimes they just weren't cooperative. So yeah, it's a pain. It really is. It's a pain. But I mean, like I said, I like the process part of it and the planning part of it. But unless it's my team, unless they're my direct reports, you're not going to get a whole lot done. It's like pulling teeth. It's herding cats, but it's also pulling teeth because sometimes, and then for whatever reason, sometimes people cannot cooperate because they're mad that their department isn't controlling the project, or they feel like, okay, well, my department, you're using my cost center to pay for this project, but yet I'm not able to have input on the project or whatever. I mean, all kinds of stuff like that happens there's all this undercurrent going on, all this undercurrents going on, and people aren't telling you what the real deal is. So you have to know who to go to get the real truth, or you have to know who to go to get the real work done. It's just, it's painful. If you guys are project managers out there, I feel for you, because it's a painful job to have. And I've been doing it off and on for a while, but since I've been at this new company, at this bank, I have not had to do any PM work. And even when there is stuff to do, I'm sitting back like this. I'm just listening, because I'm like, don't ask me to do it. Don't ask me to do it. I'm like, let me just sit back here and listen and see how they handle this. Because if they handle it okay, then I'm not jumping in. But and so they don't really know how much of a background I have in project management. So I'm sitting here back there like this. I'm like, let them handle it, because I'm not like trying to get all caught up in that stuff again. Yeah, you used to be a manager. Yep, then. It's painful. It's painful. The only time I intervene is when it's something like totally stupid. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Why are we doing this? Like, for instance, we have a content management system that we're using that times out really quick. When I'm writing in the editor, it times out really quick. And I'm thinking, okay, something's wrong here. This is either timing out because somebody set the back end wrong. There's something wrong going on the back end of this tool, or somebody didn't configure it properly or something. So I'm like, okay, where's the IT person so I can talk to somebody and find out why this thing is timing out like this? And I told my boss first. I said, this shouldn't be happening. I said, either the timing is off on the back end, or somebody didn't know what they were doing. Oh, any advice on how to bounce back from a layoff? Oh, girl, I got a lot of, I need to write a book on that. I got a lot of advice on that. Yeah. But yeah, so, I told my boss, and he said, well, is anybody else experiencing this? I'm like, do I look stupid? If I'm telling you that this thing is timing out, why would you think I'm the only one saying it? And so then I wrote an email to one of the people that I know was having a ton of problems with it. And I said, okay, so-and-so, so what's going on with this content management tool? Are you having problems? And then she's telling me all this junk in the email about, oh, it's been such a problem for months, blah, blah, blah. So then I shoot the email off to my boss and I said, see your evidence below. You don't want to listen to me. See your evidence below. And she said exactly what I said to him, that it's a timing issue. And then she told me that they intentionally timed it short. I'm thinking, who would do that? Who would intentionally time this thing out like that? See, I'm getting excited about it, and I'm not even the PM. So yeah, I need to sit back again and do this because they ain't gonna worry me. They are not gonna worry me because they will do that, So I'm trying to be good at this job. I'm trying not to jump in and take over. I'm trying not to say, okay, I can be the PM on this because I'm sick of y'all and I can handle it and we can get it fixed. But I'm not doing that. I'm old. I'm tired. I'm going to retire. I keep telling them, nope, don't ask me. I'm going to retire. I'm going to retire. This is me for the next 5 years. I'm just going to sit back and let y'all do it because I'm tired and y'all don't listen. But anyway, let's get to your question, Sabrina, about how to bounce back from a layoff. Okay, I have been laid off 1, 2, 3. I've been laid off at least 5 times in my career. In my storied career, I have been laid off about 5 times, maybe more. The first time I got laid off, I was working at the factory. Scared me to death because I was in my 20s and I'd never seen a layoff before. Scared me to death. Do you know what I did? I was living in an apartment, and when they told me I was getting laid off, girl, I went and sold all my furniture. I went and sold all my furniture and moved in with my mother. I was so afraid because I'd never been to layoff before. I didn't know what it was about. And then I found out that my company that I was working for, they lay off every year. because they have slow periods. Because we were in, we worked with the automotive business, and they have slow periods, so they lay off every year, and they always call everybody back. And I didn't know that. So then when they call me back, from the layoff, then I found out, oh, well, this happens all the time. Don't worry about it. So then I thought, okay, so then I'm just going to look at the layoff as a vacation. And so every year when they would lay me off, especially when I started college, I took that opportunity to get more homework done and to get more classes so that I could get out of school faster. But yeah, that was my first experience with layoffs. But when you're talking a layoff in corporate America, because that was in the factory, when you're talking about layoffs in corporate America, let me just tell you that there are signs. Yeah, you either recognize the signs or you don't recognize the signs. If you don't recognize the signs, then you're going to get caught unawares and you're going to be in trouble. Let me tell you what usually happens when a layoff is about to happen. If your company is about to lay off, the first thing that happens is you start hearing rumors. One or two people are going to start saying stuff like, well, things are slowing down. Or they'll say stuff like, we're having a hiring freeze. Or they'll say stuff like, so-and-so, is getting fired or whatever. Yeah, they do have a lot of layoffs in factories, but it's a totally different thing than in corporate America, totally different. So, like I said, there's going to be some scuttlebutt in the air in corporate America when you know a layoff is coming. So you have to listen. You have to listen and pay attention. So when you first start hearing those little rumors, like they'll say, oh, the department down the hall, they just laid off one or two people. And see, when it starts down there somewhere, you know it's getting to you eventually. So when they start with the marketing department and you're in an IT, you better start making some phone calls and making some plans and calling some temp agencies or whatever you need to do. Pay your bills off. Pay off all your credit cards. I mean, those are the kinds of things. That was the mode that I would go into when I would start to hear these rumors. Oh yeah, and see, that's another clue. They start denying it. And if they deny it, then you know what's going to happen. There's no doubt about it. When they start denying it, you know what's going to happen. So that's another clue. Pay attention. Get a clue. Get a clue. So you can save yourself, because that's going to happen. So it's all of those things. It's the rumors. It's the other department down the way. It's them saying nothing's wrong. Your boss comes into the meeting and he's all somber looking, and he ain't telling you what's going on, but he's all somber looking, and it's like, why is he acting like that? Why is he saying, well, things aren't going as well as we had planned, all that kind of junk. They'll start stuff like that. And that's when, and see, it's funny because for me, I used to always get this little knot in my stomach when I knew it was coming. I don't know what it was, but I had this intuition. One year, when the year first started, something said, Faith, pay off your credit cards. Pay them all off. You need to pay your credit cards off this year. And I did, because something just told me that, I could just feel that something was going to happen. So I paid all my credit cards off. And do you know, November of that same year, they laid me off. But I was ready for them. I was ready for them that year, because they were starting to lay off people in different departments. Again, it was one of those situations, because I had already been laid off at Discovery. I didn't get laid off. No, I know what it was. I didn't get laid off the first time they did it. The first time they did it, I had only been there for like a month. And they were going to go into an IPO. They thought they were going into an IPO. And so they're putting all their bets on this IPO, right? And if you guys don't know what that is, it's some kind of an internet options thing where they thought that they were going to make some money in the stock market as an independent, group. But that bubble got burst, because everybody knows that in 1999, the internet kind of fell through the hole. And that was around the time that this was happening. So they had put all their bets on this IPO. Well, it didn't come through. And they had hired a ton of young people to come to work for Discovery to do all kinds of things. And the day that they told us that we were getting laid off, this was the first layoff. I didn't get laid off this time, but the first layoff, they called us all into a room. They put us all in this big conference room. And do you know what they said? The guy in the front of the room said, well, we want all of you guys to go back to your desks. And if you get a phone call, you're getting laid off. I'm like, what kind of foolishness is that? So we all go back to our desks, right? And so somebody was standing next to me in my cubicle, and I went like this. I said, watch this. I picked up the phone. I said, watch this. I'm going to call so-and-so on the other side of the room. And when their phone rings, I want to see what happens to their faces. I mean, we were doing stuff like that, but it got so crazy up there. Once everybody went back to their desks, you could see young people were running back and forth. They calling their friends up. They trying to pull favors and stuff, you know, trying to get people doing favors and stuff. They're like, oh, remember when I helped you do this? I need a job, you know, that kind of stuff. So while I was sitting there, my phone rang. And I thought, oh, no. It was the president calling me. I never had a conversation with him. He calls me up and he said, I just want you to know that your job is safe. He said, so what I want you to do, he said, I want you to say anything to anybody. He said, I want you to hang up the phone and go home. Because it was Friday. They pulled this on a Friday at 5 o'clock. You know how they do. They pulled this on a Friday at 5 o'clock. He said, I want you to hang up the phone. I don't want you to say anything to anybody. I want you to just go home. So you know what girlfriend did. Click. And I was out of there. But yeah, they laid off 40% of the staff through those little phone calls. 40% of the staff. But the reason why my job got saved is because my boss, he told them to keep me because I had TV experience as well as internet experience. And they wanted somebody who had both television and the web. And I had got that from MSNBC. So that's the reason they kept me. But the funny thing about it is, after it was all over with, I went into my boss's office and I had found out, let me tell you what happened. When they laid these kids off, most of them had only been working for like 2 weeks. Most of them had just gotten the job. Maybe 3 weeks, maybe a month, but not that long. So I found out that what they did for those kids, when they laid those kids off, even if they'd only been working for 2 or 3 weeks, they gave every single one of those kids $30,000 for laying them off. Some of them had already gotten jobs. They gave them $30,000 a piece for laying them off like that. I was laid off a week after foot surgery while working from home. I was a part of a large group. Yeah. So yeah, they gave them all $30,000. And so I went into my boss's office and I said, did you know that they all were getting $30,000? I said, did you know that they were all getting $30,000? And he says, well, he said, I thought about that. He said, but I wanted to save your job. And I said, do you know what you just did? You just took my BMW away from me. I said, because I could have used that $30,000 to buy my BMW I've been wanting. But yeah, but I stayed. And I stayed there for another 3 years. I think I stayed there for another 3 years. But then they periodically started laying people off. And that's when I got a clue. Because every year they'd start to lay somebody off and you'd hear the same rumors, same scuttlebutt. Yep, they got 30,000. Same scuttlebutt and stuff. So when they actually came to me 3 years later to lay me off, that's when I got that feeling that it was time to pay off the bills. So I paid all the bills off. And sure enough, at the end of the year, they laid me off. But I was ready because I was in school by then. And I wanted more time to get to work on my graduate degree. I wanted more time to work on my graduate degree. So I was glad when the layoff came. And I was prepared because I'd paid my bills. But I felt so bad for my boss because when I went into his office, you know how they do you. They'll have HR sitting in the office with your boss. When you're getting laid off, they have HR in there so that they can tell you what you're getting. And they can tell you, and make sure that you're good mentally. Make sure they ain't got to walk you out with the security guard. You know how they do. Because one of the guys that got laid off, he went ballistic. He was a graphic designer. He went ballistic when they laid him off. They had to walk his behind out. They had to walk him out because he was not trying to get laid off. But I was ready. I was ready for it because I wanted to work on my degree. So when I went in my boss's office and I saw the HR person sitting there, I sat down and he was almost in tears because he didn't want to lay me off. He was almost in tears. And I said, it is okay. I said, it is okay. I said, you don't have to get upset. And I looked right at that HR woman. I said, all I want to know is how much am I getting? That's all I want to know. How much am I getting? Because I'm going to need this money and anything else you got to offer while I'm out. Because I'm going to be working on my degree so I can graduate. But that was all I needed to know. Hey, Phoebe, how you doing? We just talking junk. We're talking about layoffs. We're talking about how to survive a layoff. If you got some tips, please let us know. Because we're talking about how to survive a layoff. But yeah, so that was me. I was ready that time. Because by then I had been laid off, like I said, about 4 times before that. So I pretty much had gotten into the rhythm. Listening for the signs. Listening for the denial. All that stuff. Oh, you're furloughed right now? Yeah, we were just talking about that. Yeah, hey, I wasn't mad either. Like I said, the last time it happened to me, I wasn't mad. Yeah. Now, one time it happened to me and it was bad. One time it happened to me and I didn't have a game plan. And it took me a long time to get another job. And that was because I was so much older. I honestly believe this because the last time I got laid off, I was older. And I really felt like the reason I didn't get back into the industry faster was because I was older. Yeah, you need a mental break, Phoebe. And that's what I took this last time. I didn't get back in right away. After I got laid off this last time, I didn't get back in right away. And I probably should have because I stayed out longer than I should have. I stayed out a year, I think, before I... What's a corporate thug, Sabrina? What do you mean by corporate thug? Tell me what you mean. Are you talking about, you're not talking about like corporate raiders, people that come in and take over companies. Is that what you're talking about? Like corporate raiders? Is that what you're talking about? Because I've experienced those too, where they'll come in and take over the company to try and get the company back on track, and they'll just start slashing jobs and slashing the budget, and they like come in and do the dirty work. Yeah, ageism is a problem. It's a problem, and so it's best to try and find companies that are more friendly to older people. A company that I heard, and Microsoft, from what I understand, is a company that's good for that. Microsoft's supposed to be a good company to work for if you're older because they don't discriminate as much, I guess. I've heard that they're pretty good at hiring older people. I think banks are good at hiring older people. I have worked for several banks as a freelancer. I'm working full-time for a bank now, but when I've done freelance work, I found that banks are more apt to hire older people, depending on what it is that you're doing. In the corporate part of it, not the branches. I don't know about the branches because I've never been a teller or anything like that. I've always worked as a writer or a project manager for a bank. But banks tend to hire older people. They tend to appreciate more mature people because we know how to act in the boardroom. We know how not to be on our phone all the time. We know how to ask the right questions, stuff like that. So they appreciate older people. But I'm not sure I understand what you mean by corporate thug, Sabrina. But yeah, the only thing that I could think of is like corporate raiders who come in and help a company get themselves back together by slashing, the budgets and slashing jobs. And if there's two of you, like if companies are being merged and there's two of you on both sides, one person has to go, that kind of stuff. A lot of that stuff, the corporate raiders will come in and decide. They'll decide who stays and who goes. So if you have a bad relationship with people at your job, be nice. That's one thing that I've learned in corporate America. It's not always what you know, it's who you know. In corporate America, sometimes it's not always how good you are at your job, but how much they like you. I found that to be the case because, a lot of people, I had problems with people because I had a strong personality. Even though I was good at my job, some people didn't like me because I had a strong personality. I don't know. I wouldn't consider it the, what's the term that they always try to tell us that we're called the mad black woman or the mad black woman? I don't think it was that, but I don't think they like aggression in women, especially black women. So maybe that is it. I don't think they like to have to face strong black women because we have definite ideas. And sometimes that doesn't go over real well in corporate America. And I've also found that if you don't hang with them and go out and drinking with them and all that kind of junk, you got a problem. I never did that. Never went out with them like that. I hung out with people when I was a TV reporter, but I mean, that's because stations hung with stations. You didn't hang out with people at the competition station, stuff like that. But as far as corporate America, if you're not like part of the good old boy network, then a lot of times you're not getting anywhere. Or, if you're not a nice person all the time, like people that I have found over the years working in corporate America, they had been really, really nice, kind of almost mousy people. Yeah, I was nice to everyone, even if I didn't know them, because you never knew who you would end up working with. That's true. Yeah, the angry black woman, that's what I'm thinking about. The angry black woman, yeah. They think you're the angry black woman if you have definite ideas, or if you're strong, or if you know what you're doing or what you're talking about. And it depends on the company. Some companies are more mature when it comes to that than other companies are. I found that in the media industry, they are, I don't know, I didn't feel like they were as mature in the media industry, in the corporate side, than like banking. I didn't seem to have any problem or see people have any problem with strong women in banking. I mean, friendly merino than nice. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I just felt like for me that I kind of needed to tone my personality down. Especially initially when I got there, I kind of had to tone my personality down and not let them see my real self right off the bat. Because some companies I would have just gone in like a bull in a china shop and said, okay, I got the answers. Let's do this. I can handle it. And they didn't like that. So lately in my older age, I have learned to ease my way in and just kind of sit back and listen. I just stop, look, and listen is my motto. I stop, look, and listen. I pay attention to what's going on. I find out who has the power, who has the position but doesn't have the power. Where are the hidden agendas? Who knows where the bodies are buried? All of that stuff. I find out all those things now, and I kind of just sit back and watch how things operate first. And then once I got an idea of how things operate, I mean, all the while I'm doing my little job, I'm keeping my head down and doing my little job, but I'm listening and I'm watching and I'm paying attention to what's going on so that once I get a feel for what's going on, then I know where I can fit in or maneuver or who I can influence or talk to or whatever to get what I need done. I know who to talk to get my stuff done. And that I didn't always do, but I learned over the years that that's what I had to do. The slow and easy approach was better for me. Hey, Kamara. Oh, don't worry about it. We've been talking about everything, child. Right now, we're talking about working in corporate America and trying to survive that, because that can be a challenge. But I have never wanted to be anybody's CEO. I have never wanted to have a ton of direct reports. Yeah, you got to observe first. That's the wisest way to go. You got to observe first. You can't just go in there thinking you know everything. And that's what bothers me about some of the young people that come into the business now. They come in thinking that they know everything because they're young and you're old, and they think they can come in and tell you how to do what you need to do when they don't have any kind of context as to what's really going on. That's what they're missing. They're missing the context. They're also missing protocol. They don't know what that is. They don't follow that. They don't understand that concept a lot of times because of the fact that they're coming in roughshod. So that's the kind of thing I try to tell the younger people when they come in. I pull them aside and say, let's have a conversation, because I'm seeing you're going in a direction that's not going to serve you well in the future. And so I'm sitting them down and having lunch with them and having coffee with them and saying, look, you can't continue to do this, because if you keep doing this, you're going to sabotage your own career. So just listen to me, because I done been there, done that. Let me tell you what you need to be doing and not doing so that you can be successful, because we want you to be successful. We don't want you to be kicked out. We don't want you to make a bunch of enemies right off the jump. You need to understand how things work. Now, you can change things, but first you got to be able to understand how they work now. Because if you don't understand and work within the system now, you're not going to be able to change it later. Not coming in the way you coming in. So you have to show some respect. You have to understand that there's other people who have more experience than you. And even if you think they're stupid, you need to put up with that until you can figure out where you fit in and how you can make the change you want to make. And a lot of times they don't want to hear that. And they're the ones that end up going from job to job to job and then maybe working for themselves, which is fine. But they go from job to job to job because they never understand that. Yes. They need to understand that you can't just go in there and just be what you want to be. You have to work within what's going on and understand it, because until you understand it, you can't change it. You don't know how to change it until you understand why it's the way it is now. And you got to be able to know who you can work with and who you can't work with to get it done. Because there's going to be some people that are there just to make your life miserable. That's their sole purpose. They come to work every day with the intent on making your life miserable. That's their job. And you have to make sure that you don't let those people get under your skin. You got to have something for them. And if you don't understand that, then you're not going to be successful. Because, you can play their game, but you have to know how the game works first. Because you can't get around it unless you know how it works. And that's what I try to tell them. You really need to understand what's up before you can change what's up. Because there's a way to get things done. There's a way to work those back rooms. There's a way to find those people who are quietly sitting in the corner and know everything, and they can help you. That's why I always make sure that when I go to a company, the first person I befriend is the admin. Let me tell you that the administrator knows everything. Every time I go into a company, the first person I want to meet is the woman who is the executive assistant to the big guy. Because the executive assistant to the CEO or the president, that woman or man needs to be your friend. Because that person knows where all the bodies are buried. That person probably has been around through 2 or 3 different CEOs or 2 or 3 different presidents. She stays while everybody else leaves. She knows what's going on. You need to be her friend or his friend. Because that person, if you get close to that person, yeah, you have to follow protocols. Everything's going to fall on the manager if you don't follow protocol. That's true. And you want to make your manager look good. If you're the kind of person who's humble enough to, if you're the kind of person who doesn't have to say, I was the one that came up with this idea, you can do really well in corporate America, because you can funnel a lot of stuff to your manager and let your manager take credit for it. But if it's something that's going to benefit you, who cares who gets credit? That's my thing. I may have some good ideas, but I can tell my manager those ideas and let him or her run with those. And then she looks good. And if she's looking good, I'm going to be happy. I don't care if I don't get credit for it, because I'm getting what I need. I'm getting what I need. Right. Yes. That's right. The admin knows where the body's buried. So you got to be friends with her first, because she's going to tell you everything. She knows everything. She knows everything about everybody. She knows about every process. She knows what works and what doesn't work. She knows everything. I swear, every company I've ever been to, that admin has been the first person that I get to know. And I'm nice to her. I am super nice to that person, because that person is going to help me in the long run. When I'm in a jam or I don't understand something, I'm going to go right to her, and she going to know the answer. That's what I do. Yes. Yeah, it's true. That's true. That's true. Your manager, if you like your manager, then you need to pump your manager up at every opportunity. If you have a good manager and you like that manager and that manager treats you good, then you need to do everything that you can to prop that person up in front of their boss, because that's going to make you benefit. If your manager is dumb, and I've had some dumb managers before. If your manager is dumb and they don't really know what to do, you can go into that office and you can say, well, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but this is what I would do if I were you. This is what I would do, XYZ, 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 put it up on the whiteboard or whatever. And then they take that idea and they do something with it, because they can. You can't, but they can. So they take it to the next level and it works. And then they're looking good. So you're looking good. So you're getting what you need, because you prop them up. I mean, that's always been what I've seen in corporate America. There are just ways. There are ways that you can maneuver yourself in that environment to be successful, but you got to be smart. You got to use what God gave you, especially when the young people come in. Like I said, I talk to them, because if I see them making a false step, I get worried, because I'm like, you just started and you doing this already? Let me just tell you why you're not successful. Let me tell you why they keep canceling that meeting you keep setting up. You keep setting this meeting up and they keep canceling it, or they don't show up. Let me tell you why they're not showing up. I'm just going to, right. Let me tell you why they're not responding to you when you ask them questions. Because they don't have any respect for you, because you're new and you're jumping into their territory, or you're taking over something that they should be doing, or you're managing a project that they should be managing. You need to build some friendships. You need to build some, you need to get some allies first. And you need to know who those allies are. And you need to know how to find those allies. And the first step to that is listening. When you first come to that job, you need to be listening to everybody. Because after a while, if you listen to everybody, after a while, you're going to know who ain't got no sense. You're going to know who doesn't know what they're talking about. You're going to know who really does know everything. And you're going to know who has the power, even if they don't have the position. You're going to find all that stuff out by listening. Because see, what I do is after I hear people talk, I keep stuff in the back of my mind. I'm like, let me remember that statement she made because when I deal with that person, I want to pull that statement out from the back of my head and see if it fits what they're saying, because I think I'm a good judge of people. So I listen. And if you say something about somebody, I'm going to keep it back of my head. If you say that so-and-so is crazy, I'm going to be listening to see if so-and-so really is crazy. Or if you say that they are the ones that's always sabotaging projects, I'm going to be paying attention on my project to see if that person is a saboteur. So there are things that, because people love to talk, you know, that whole water cooler thing ain't no lie. They love to talk about people and what they're doing or not doing. And a lot of times the people who are talking about what somebody else ain't doing, they ain't doing it. Or that person that they're talking about is probably a better person than they are, but they're jealous, and so they're talking about them. And there are some people who complain about everything. I worked with this girl who complained about everything at work. And it got to the point where I'm like, I can't even be around this person because all she does is complain. And I mean, I'm like, I try to see the cup half full. I really do. I try to see it half full. She saw everything half empty, everything. And I was like, how do you work with a person like that? All you have to do is hear them out. I would hear them out. I'd give her a chance to give her beef because she had to do that. She had to get it out. So I let her get it out. And then when she left my office, I wouldn't pay attention to none of it. Because I know her. And I know that all she wants to do is sabotage things. It says, when you complain about everything at work, it's time to go. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And this girl, she did leave. She did finally leave. Yeah, the half empties are draining. They really are. They're draining. Yes, they really are draining. But yeah, so those are the kinds of things. I mean, I really need to write a book about corporate America. I honest to goodness need to write one. Matter of fact, maybe I'll do that when I retire, is write a book about how to survive corporate America. I'm sure there's a lot of books out there, but I'm going to be coming from a Black perspective. I'm going to be coming from the mad Black woman perspective. Because, yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just people are just, I don't even understand. Yep. Sometimes I don't even understand. I'm like, it's a job. But you know, to some people, their job is their life. Some people, their job is their life. And they come to work and that's all they know. Their relationships at work are their whole life. Their friends are only the people that they work with. Everything that goes on at the company, they know. They're reading the newsletter. They're breathing all over the newsletter. You know, they know everything about every manager in the company. You know, that's their whole life, and they ain't got nothing else. And since that's all they got, that's all they talk about. And if you take that little bit away from them, they're in trouble. They're in trouble because they don't have a life outside. Right. They don't have a life outside of work. Some people are like that. And people that are like that are dangerous to your career, because those are the people who are going to do anything for that job, even if it means screwing you so that they can continue to stay there. So you have to watch those people. Yeah, you have to watch people like that, but you're going to run into people like that. It's very sad. But yeah, I would advise. Yeah, corporate. Yeah, right. That's exactly what I need to do. I'm going to write. I'm going to write that book. I've been saying I'm going to do it. I just didn't really know how I was going to do it. But I've been saying I'm going to write that book because I'm afraid for some of the young people that come in, especially those who are not. I mean, there was a time when people stayed at a company for like 20, 30 years. People don't do that anymore. Most young people don't stay very long anyway. And I don't really understand what that's about. That they can only be somewhere for a short period of time and then they got to jump. You know, they have to bounce, as they say. They have to bounce because for some reason or other, they either can't handle it or it's not exactly what their ideal is or whatever. I don't know. But they leave jobs really quickly. It's more of what they call the gig society. I think they're calling it the gig society because that means people are really just doing a gig for a short period of time and then going on to something else. They're not like sticking with the company anymore. It's just very interesting. because we weren't like that. We kind of thought that we'd be at one company for like 30 years. Oh yeah, that's the average now, 5? Now I didn't stay, I think the longest that I ever stayed at a company was 8 years. I stayed at a company for 8 years. The others were less than 8. But I've never like jumped a job from like year to year like that unless I absolutely had to. But I mean, I know some people's resumes are like, they were here for 6 months, or they were there for 8 months, or they were there for 12 months. I mean, I'm like, if I was to read that when I'm hiring somebody, I'd be thinking, was there a problem? You know, could you not handle it? Is that why you left after 6 months or 8 months? I want to know, because to me, that's instability. And to me, it's like there's something going on. Well, yeah, the company was going to take care of you back in the day. They did. They took care of you back in the day. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Oh, there it is. I had to turn a light on. I'm getting in the dark here. Make sure you put a few chapters in there about being mature and re-entering the workforce. Yeah, I mean, because I recently did that. I recently re-entered the workforce after having been out for a while. I got laid off, but I was working on a book. And so I was kind of glad to be laid off because I wanted to finish that book. I had written, I think I told you guys, I wrote a fiction book for middle-aged kids. It was a baseball-oriented book about my husband's childhood. I was working on that book, and when I got laid off, I was working on that book, so I wasn't tripping because I wanted to finish that book. But yeah, I stayed out longer than I should have, and re-entering was harder because I was older. And I felt like I faced discrimination because of my age, even though I had a lot of experience. Now companies show their employees that they're disposable. Yeah, they do. I agree with you, Divine. Yeah. So that's why it's even more important to have something, to bring something to the table that they can't deny. You know, you have to, and for me, I can prove my worth in an interview because of all the things that I've done. And the way I write my resume is not XYZ company from this date to that date, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. I did this, I did that, I did that. I don't write my resume like that because their eyes glaze over when you write resumes like that. I'm going to tell you a couple of secrets about writing a resume. Number one, whatever job you're applying for, there are going to be certain keywords that job description is looking for in your resume. And if it ain't in there, they're not even going to look at it. Because as you know, or may not know, there is a tool that they use to scan your resume for those keywords. And when you submit your resume and they scan your resume with that tool, if none of those keywords pop up, they're spitting it out. They're not even going to look at it. So don't think because you have a lot of experience or you were good at this, that, or the other, that you're going to automatically get an interview, because you're not. Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's called ATS. Yes, thank you so much, Sabrina. That's what it is. And they scan your resume, and if you don't have those keywords from that job description, you can forget it. So what I learned to do is, first, if I saw a job that I really liked, I would read the job description really carefully, and I would look at my resume and see what things in that job description fit in with what my resume said. Then I would actually copy and paste. I'm telling you, I copied and pasted their statement word for word and stuck it in my resume. And I got a call. The first time I did that as a test, I did it as a test just to see what would happen. Oh, you stayed at one job for 17 years. That's how you moved up to manager. Oh yeah, the old fashioned way doesn't work anymore. At least I don't think so. I think it's, yeah, I think that a lot of times they feel like if you've been there too long, if you've been there that long, you've been there too long, and they need what they call fresh blood. I've heard that a lot. But I mean, I guess it just depends on the company. I don't really know for sure, but I think it just depends on the company. But yeah, I will actually copy and paste. I created a section in my resume called key competencies. And under key competencies, which I put in there before I put my regular resume in there, I leave space under key competencies for those things I've copied and pasted from that job description. And I'll take that stuff and I'll rewrite the sentence, but I'll keep all the keywords in there and I'll throw that under key competencies, and then I send my resume out. After that, I started getting calls because those keywords were in there. And as a matter of fact, I got a call from Microsoft about a job about 2 months ago. Yeah, I got a job from Microsoft, phone call from them because the guy specifically said to me, he said, you know what? He said, I don't even have to ask you any questions. He said, because everything in your resume answers my questions. And I was like, yeah, I guess so, because guess what I did? So yeah, so if you do that, number one, that ATS machine won't kick you out. So at least you have a shot because you've got those keywords in there. At least you have a shot. Yeah. And then once you get in, that's when your personality comes out. That's when you are able to convince them, but you got to get in the door first. And getting in the door means making sure that your resume matches up with that job description. And I'll tell you another thing. When they were going to lay me off at my last job, they were telling us all to reapply for our jobs. And what they specifically told us was to copy that job description word. They told us to copy the whole job description and put it in our resume because they knew that even at their own company that was going to happen. So they said, just copy the whole job description and put it in your resume and submit it. So I thought that was when I first got my clue about resumes. When they said that at my job, I thought, what? I said, I have applied for like 5 jobs in this company for the past 5 years and never got an interview. And that's why. Now I know why, because I didn't put the job description in my resume. I was done. But yeah, so now I do that. If I'm going to apply for a job, I'm reading that job description. I'm taking out all that stuff that's in there that applies to me. I'm putting it in my key competencies as my little bullet points, and it's going to be word for word what they're saying. And then I'm getting my interview. You learned education is very important. You know what? There's several schools of thought on that in terms of education. Because you know the guy who started Wendy's never graduated from high school. But I would say, having been through the whole corporate ringer for the past 20 or so, 30 years, I would say that my degree to me wasn't as important as my own knowledge and experience and my personality and my confidence. I think that served me way better than my degree, especially the first degree. The journalism degree, I felt like I already know how to write. The only reason I'm going to get this degree is because I feel like I got to have a piece of paper that says I got one. But this is not really where where I'm going to shine. My degree is not going to be where I shine. Where I shine is going to be my personality, the fact that I'm a quick study, right? The fact that I'm a quick study and I can talk my way into what I need to talk my way into. So yeah, my second degree, my project management degree, I felt like I was already a project manager, but I got that degree because I felt like I needed that degree. I felt like I needed that to get into the PM community because not only did I want to have the degree, I wanted to be PMP, but I wanted the degree too. I felt like the degree taught me a lot of things about planning and process that I didn't know before. Yeah, it opens the door, but it don't keep it open. You got to keep it open once it's open. You got to prove yourself once you're in there. Yeah. So it's not just about the degree. I tell my son and any other young person, if I was to do it over, I would get a certificate in something. I wish I had gotten a certificate in project management instead of spending all that time and money getting a master's degree. I really feel like I would have been just as fine with the certificate than I was with the master's degree. See, my degree didn't help me with money because I was already making money. And see, that's the thing. When I got my degree, I was already making 6 figures. So I got the degree because I wanted the knowledge as a PM. I didn't necessarily get it because I wanted to make more money, because Discovery was throwing money at us. They just threw money at us. I mean, we were making money. When I was working at Discovery, I was getting paid to be a web producer for the Travel Channel and for, I think it was the Travel Channel and Health Channel and what we call regular Discovery. So I was already working for them on that side. And then they used to do this thing called Discovery Health News Breaks, where I would be on television. Whenever the medical director who was on television was out of town, she'd be on Oprah or something like that. Whenever she had to go out of town to be on some TV show, I would do her news breaks for her. And they paid me extra money for that. So, I mean, I was rolling. So I didn't really need the money. I just wanted the degree because I wanted the experience. I mean, I wanted the knowledge as a PM. I wanted to know what that was all about. But yeah, education is power. It is. But I don't think you have to be overeducated. I think there's a limit to how much your actual education is going to help you. Because I know a lot of people who have degrees who aren't working. It depends on what you do with it. I think you can't just have that piece of paper. You got to have the oomph to back it up. You really do. And you got to be confident. You really have to be confident in yourself. Even in this wig thing that I'm doing, I'm finding that confidence, working with sponsors, and I'm just beginning to do this, but I'm just putting into practice the things that I learned in corporate America. Working with sponsors, if you're confident, you can get whatever it is that you want. You have to be confident. You have to go in, you have to go to them. You have to bring to the table what you expect to get from the table. And if you go to the table with confidence and you go to the table and you say, well, you know what, this is my rate and this is what I charge. And hey, I would love to work with you, but you know, this is what and don't even apologize for it, or don't act like you're mousy about it. If they say, well, I want you to do X, Y, Z, I'll say, okay, well, here's my rate, and don't flinch. And then they know you mean business, and either they pay it or they don't. So that's kind of been my attitude with it. It's like, okay, I'm worth something. I feel like my time is worth money. So if you want my time, you got to pay for it. And that's kind of the way I'm working it now. I mean, I wasn't doing that at first because I didn't really understand this business when I first started doing this, because I'd always done it in corporate America. Like when it came to salary negotiations and stuff, I loved doing that because I always was able to get what I wanted because I knew how to ask for it. And so you just have to know. But I'm going to write that book, Sabrina. Yeah, you definitely have to know your worth. You definitely have to know your worth, and you can't be afraid, because, like I said, all they can say is no. And if you already are prepared for no when you go in, don't think that they're going to say no. Think that they're going to say yes, and be as confident as they are, because they're confident about how much they're going to offer you. But because if they've got 70,000, or if they offer you 70, they got 80. Because they're not going to offer you what they have. It never happens. They never give you what they really have. Yeah. That's true. Communities, you need to stick together. But yeah, they're not going to offer you what they have. So whatever they offer you, you know they got more. And if you think you're worth more, then you need to ask for it. And that's kind of that's been my philosophy. Be as confident as they are. Be as confident about asking as they are about offering. Because that's what they expect. You know, that's the kind of environment that they are in. That they work in that environment all the time. They're dealing with people who are telling them no. And they have to be ready for that. They have to have a good comeback. But they have to be prepared for whoever's telling them no, or could possibly be telling them yes. But I mean, if you don't feel like you have anything to lose, then what's the problem? Especially if you already have a job. That is the best time to be looking for work, is when you have a job. Do not wait until you get laid off to look for a job, because you know what you should be doing when you're working? As soon as you get that new job, you need to start redoing your resume and getting ready for the next one, because you never know. You never know. I always keep in touch with, because see, sometimes I will do like temp work. I'll work with agencies to do writing. Yeah, you need to know your personal power. Sometimes I work with agencies to do writing jobs, and I keep in touch with those people because I never know when something's going to happen, and I may need to call them up and say, okay, I'm ready for whatever gig you got, or what do you have that's going to be for 12 months that pays $50 an hour or whatever it is, 60 bucks, 65, whatever it is, whatever they're paying, you know, let me know if you got some of those, because I might need a job soon, especially if those clues are floating around in the corporate room. You know, if the clues are floating around at the company that something could be happening, that's when you start making those phone calls. But you should keep in touch with those people, or you should always have a line to those people, even when you're working. Because that way, when something goes down, as it were, you're not like left unawares. You're not lost. You know, you got something in the pot. There should always be a plan B. Always. I don't care how comfortable you are at that company. When you get comfortable, that's when you really need to be looking. Because when you get comfortable, something's going to happen. It always does. Something's going to happen when you get comfortable. I always used to get afraid. When I got comfortable at a company, the money was good, the job was going well, that's when I started worrying. I'm like, okay, I could wake up tomorrow and they could kick me out of here. So I need to start making plans for the future so that I'm not in that situation. So that's what I always do. I always have a plan B, always, because you just never know when something's going to happen. And I have been, like I said earlier in my life, I have been caught. I think it only happened to me once. But after that, I was like, you don't have to tell me twice. I learned my lesson. I'm going to always have something going on. Even if I'm just working part-time, I might be writing for somebody on the side while I'm working full-time. Long as it's not a conflict of interest. Like, I have a friend who has a publishing company and I write for her sometime. I edit her books for her. I can do that on the side, you know, just in case I need, so I can keep my skills up, because I may need to, you know, I may need her later, you know, or I'll make a call in. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, you got to be prepared because you never know what's going to happen. So I always try to keep in touch with my temp agencies, the companies, the creative agencies that I go to for writing jobs or project management jobs. I keep in touch with those people. And sometimes they'll reach out to me and say, Faith, are you looking? Because I just got this job come up and it's for 12 months and it's for $65 an hour and whatever. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm good for right now. Come back to me in 6 months. You know, I mean, really, that's what I tell them. You know, you keep talking to me every 6 months, you come back to me. And if you got something, because I may need something, I don't know what I need right now because I don't really know what's going on yet. But if I start hearing the scuttlebutt, or if I feel like I need to get out of there for some reason or other, I need to know that I can fall back on something else. And so that's what I do. I always keep in touch with people in those positions that can help me, assist me, so that I can make a smooth transition out of that joint if I need to bounce. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to do that. You have to be prepared. You really do. Okay. Sabrina has given me the idea to write the book about corporate America. So I'm going to have to start working on that. I am also working on a marriage book. Because me and my wonderful husband, we've been married for 14 years, but even though that may not seem like a long time, it's long for me. It was long for me. So I'm working on that too. And I have, I don't think I have any fiction books. I have some fiction books, but they're not like ready for publication yet. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to work on that idea that Sabrina gave me to come up with a corporate book. But and I also told you guys, I got some videos coming up. I got some human hair companies that I'm getting some wigs from. So I'm going to be doing some human hair videos. Eyeglasses. I told you guys I'm going to be doing some eyeglasses videos coming up pretty soon. I'm going to do this iconic thing. Like I told you guys, I'm going to tell you guys how to use these eyelash adhesive things now that they've cleaned up their act a little bit. But there's a lot of stuff coming down the pike. And I just want to say that I just really appreciate you guys. And this has just been so fun. I like doing these things with you. And I'm sorry I was late. I'm sorry I didn't start till 7. But I'm wondering if 7 might be a better idea. But the problem is my live is called Live at 5. So I can't change the name. I mean, I guess I could. But yeah, 5 o'clock is really better for me. So I don't spend my whole evening doing this like right now. But yeah, if you guys have anything that you want me to do, please ask. You can leave some comments down in the description after we're done hanging out. If there's anything that you want from me. I had talked about a dating book last week that I wrote. If you guys want a PDF of that dating book, I can send you that because I'm not charging for that. That book used to be on sale and I took it off the market. But I still have copies of it. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, because we had a really cool conversation last week on desperate dating. That was fun. If you didn't see that live, you need to watch last week's live because we talked a lot about desperate women. And yeah, you need to watch that because we talked a lot about desperate women. And I actually read some scenarios about how men act and how some desperate women respond. So that was fun. We had a good time with that last week. So if you missed that video, you need to watch that. But I am going to go because it's getting late and I got to work in the morning. But I thank y'all for coming and we're going to do this again next week. But in the meantime, I've got some videos dropping. So you guys make sure you have your notifications turned on. Love you guys and I'll see you next time. Bye.